I'm Faye Watt, and let's queer up the USA view. The Stonewall Museum marks the 57th anniversary of the Stonewall Riots. The pivotal event that started the modern LGBTQ+ civil rights movement was reenacted on Sunday with everything from a police raid to community reconciliation. Queer News Tonight special correspondent John Hayden was there and filed this report.
Hey everyone, John Hayden at Stonewall Museum in Fort Lauderdale for an event to remind us that the first Stonewall was a real riot.
It's the cops! Everybody run! Actually, it's the reenactment of the Stonewall riots at the Stonewall Museum in Fort Lauderdale. It's been 57 years since police raided the Stonewall Inn, kicking off the modern LGBTQ+ civil rights movement. Police run people out of the bar, only to be met with resistance in the streets.
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
But on this day, police take shelter in the bar, then come out with a giant pride flag. The brash, in-your-face symbolism shows times have changed, but the fight goes on.
86-47! 86-47!
This comes a week after the Stonewall Pride Parade was rained out. Two of the Grand Marshals got to have their moment by throwing the first bricks.
Today is a very special moment. It's an opportunity for all of us as a community to come together as one in love and support and to empower each other and to embrace each other. And that's what Fort Lauderdale is all about, and that's what Stonewall is all about.
All right, Cal, no rain out today. Did you throw a brick?
I did throw a brick.
And what does it feel like? Do you feel like you're connecting with our past by throwing a brick today here?
Absolutely. Definitely helped me connect with the past because I wasn't around in the 60s to be there present, but being able to be here now in 2026 and to reflect on the people who actually threw the first brick is actually quite a huge honor.
Hopefully, we'll be able to see this entire crowd here next year and even more people as Florida's anti-DEI law will be in effect, unless, of course, a court steps in and says, stop that. And hopefully a court will. At the Stonewall Museum in Fort Lauderdale, I'm John Hayden.
That it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
And that was John Hayden reporting. Make sure that you follow Greater Wilton Manors for all of his reportings. He is always on top of any kind of event or any kind of news story that is going on in your town. So make sure that you stay in the know with John Hayden. And so I thought that was beautiful. Yep. You know what I mean? Thank you so much to Robert Keston for being his crazy self. I love this. I was there last year and I threw a brick and it was 115 degrees outside and it didn't matter, you know, because it was like, you know, we weren't there when it happened, right? And we're reliving. We kind of have like a generational trauma from this, you know, because we weren't there.
Passed down somehow.
You know, yes. So to be able to reenact kind of was like a healing, I think, for us in our community. I also love that they had chosen two of the Grand Marshals. I mean, obviously, I'm a little biased. Cal, I adore you. That they got Dr. Cal Gajraj and also the city manager, Miss Raquel, that were also supposed to be Grand Marshals for the Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival that unfortunately was rained out. So they weren't able to. You know, when the parade was canceled, I was with Cal and I can tell that he was affected, that he was sad, you know? And I was like, baby, no one can take this away from you. You are my Grand Marshal of Stonewall Pride, okay? Like,
nobody ever says that to me. Okay, we'll talk after. But, you know, Robert, a while back, I was doing some education at the Stonewall Museum. And Robert was saying that when they were getting the funding for Stonewall Pride Museum, one of the, I don't know if it was the city mayor at the time or a commissioner, said that you won't get this money. You'll only get this money after a lot of fighting, but we're not going to put a bathroom in your facility. And also, we're not going to allow a back door in the building that leads out to a publicly accessible bathroom because, you know, the gays do horrible things in bathrooms.
My God.
And so it's one of those things
Wow.
where it wasn't that long ago that there were still these attitudes that you have this wonderful museum and archive called the Stonewall Museum, and people were still at the city level still being very homophobic. And it really touched me, and it gave me goosebumps, you know, that in this day and age that there are still hateful people out there, and it's all the more necessary that we do these group events together where, you know, throwing the, you know, a brick, and even if it's 115 degrees out, and just really connecting with our queer elders, I think is the most important thing.
Look, the Stonewall Museum and Archives has our history in it.
Yes.
Right? These people can try to erase us from everyday life and from history, but LGBTQ plus history is American history. Okay? And Robert will not stand for our erasure under no circumstances, right? So now, yeah, you can tell Robert whatever you want. You're not going to get the money. You're not going to get the funding, blah, blah, blah. You suck. He doesn't listen to any of you. He doesn't care. He lets that go right off him like Teflon, okay? Now he has his set and his intentions, and he's manifesting, because it will happen, the new building for Stonewall. He's going to get this building.
He will.
He's going to get the money for this building, all right? I don't know where he's going to pull it from, all right? I went on The Advocate, well, you know, one of our favorite publications to read since the beginning of time, right? And a big story on Robert and Stonewall Museum was in there.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not going to stop until he makes sure that we are represented and that our library of history of our people is set where it needs to be for future generations to know that, you know, we fought hard and the people behind us fought harder.
Right. Yep.
And you're seen and you're heard and you're loved, and nothing's going to change that because you're LGBTQ plus.
Right. You know, recently I was leading a workshop, and it was during Pride Month, and it was a bunch of aging LGBTQ individuals that we were in the room together. We were talking about, what does Pride mean to you? You know, because a lot of them were here during that, right? But the discussion turned because I said, you know, I talked about the brick, you know, and whether it was a brick, a shoe, or whatever, a brick. But, you know, a brick is made from the earth, right? It's formed into something. We use it today to build buildings. And today that brick represents resilience, right? So it was like, who do you hold that brick for? And I could not believe the emotion that poured out of people.
I'm getting emotional.
You know, because you think about when they just started, as soon as they could bring up somebody's name, it caught them, you know, in their throat, and they're getting emotional to think about it, because it's like, and a lot of times, a lot of our older generation has never really dealt with the trauma.
Yes.
They
Right?
didn't process
Right.
it.
Yes. I mean, we could never understand what it's like to go to Hunter's and then the next day our name is on the paper and we get fired from our job because we went to Hunter's.
Right.
We will never understand what that is like.
Right.
You know, so they've got that trauma that they for sure have not worked through.
Yeah.
Brian, you were going to say?
Yeah, you know, the thing is we are a community, and, you know, we could have a spicy Latina here. We could have somebody from the where are you from, Vaughn?
Midwest.
From the, I thought so. We could have a guy from the Midwest. We could have like a New York, well, I wasn't born in New York. My family, a New York Jew that lives in South Florida, you know, but what unites us is that we are all part of the same community, and we come in so many different shades and different backgrounds and different this and different that, but we are united by love, and we really have to hold that really strong and in our hearts. And I think this is the way to do it, is to really just process these really hard things that come up for us in our community, move on from them in the ways that we can, in healthy ways, and, you know, work toward a better future for the next generation, because that's what we need to do. I'm really very optimistic, even though it doesn't always seem like there's good news coming out at the top levels of our government. But I believe that we as a community are stronger together. Isn't that that's a saying, stronger together? But I believe that we are stronger together, and I'm so happy that we are able to all coalesce around our rainbow flag. Even if it gets painted over, the paint chips and the rainbow comes through. So.
Amen.
Yeah.
And there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.